You have one shot at raising your children. You don't get do-overs. We were very, very concerned that our children get a good education.
Growing up in Leland and thinking about where I lived, it seemed somewhat like a Mayberry to me. It was a very tight-knit community. People knew each other. People really cared about each other.
I grew up kind of a latchkey kid and had the run of the town, basically. I felt like growing up that the whole thing belonged to me and I could go anywhere and do just about anything that I could get away with.
Certain places, we couldn't visit. I mean, just like this park, for instance, this park was off limits, to blacks.
Leland was divided. You had Black Dog, where I grew up in, you had the white section.
There was always a railroad track. There was always a creek. There was always a road. There was always some marker that divided the neighborhoods.
In 1969, my hometown of Leland, Mississippi, finally had to reckon with something it had been avoiding for years.
In 1954, the Supreme Court made school integration the law of the land, a law to be implemented with all deliberate speed. Last fall, the court ruled that after 15 years, deliberation should end, and speed meant now.
Quality public education in a great portion of our state has been made an impossibility under conditions inflicted on our public schools by a vindictive, autocratic, arbitrary Supreme Court.
All blacks that was involved was nervous about it because we didn't know what was going to happen next, but we were still trying to do what we felt like was right.
The only thing I can see that it's leading to is destruction of our school system.
The Negro children, on a whole, are further behind in their studies than our children.
We've got a psychology running in the state which is very deeply negative about the possibilities of black and white working this thing out together. Because of it, we've managed to stay 50th or 48th for a mighty long time, while we're so busy holding one down and keeping the other just on top.
What are your thoughts about going to school with about half and half white and black students?
I don't care. I mean, the same people. I think we all should be together, and I hope that we could get along together.
My class was the first in Mississippi to have black kids and white kids in school together, from the first day of first grade to high school graduation. We were supposed to be the seeds of a great harvest of racial harmony. 3 decades later, I needed to understand what happened and why America is still so divided, even after all we went through. I went back to find out. When I was a kid, my family lived in this little town in the Mississippi Delta called Leland, Mississippi. If you have any vision in your mind of a cotton plantation in the Deep South, the place you are imagining is the Mississippi Delta. In the 1960s, Leland was still as archly segregated as it ever was. In those very early years, I just noticed that it was all white over here and all black over there, and black folks had more trouble than white folks, and it perplexed me. I started asking a lot of questions, which seemed uncomfortable to everybody I asked them to, including my parents at times. And so I couldn't make any sense out of it. Later, in middle school, I became aware of a place called Strike City. Strike City was a settlement just outside of town, created in the middle of the 1960s after a group of black tenant farmers went on strike.
The reason we went on a strike, I was tired of working for $6 a day, and I was tired of my wife and kids working for $3 a day.
They were among the very first African Americans in American history to rebel in this way against a white landowner. There was a town oratorical contest sponsored by the Lions Club. And so I decided to write a speech about Strike City. I went to the library, read stories that had been written in the local papers at the time. I learned the strikers were thrown out of their homes. They're attacked by the Ku Klux Klan. The men are blackballed from employment. None of the men ever work again. All kinds of terrible experiences. So my little boy essay maps all this out. And at the end says, Martin Luther King came along and the civil rights movement solved everything. That was the conclusion. And so the day of the contest, I go in. And of course, it's a room of about 45 middle-aged white men. The other students give their speeches. And then I get up and give my speech about Strike City. And immediately, as soon as I start speaking, I realize that something's wrong. As soon as I mention Strike City, the men in the room begin to snicker. I was so confused. Then as I proceed through the speech and talk about the courage of the strikers, they go dead silent. When I get to the part about the Ku Klux Klan attacking them, there's no response whatsoever. I don't win the contest, naturally. Then afterwards, all the men file by and shake our hands. But this one fellow stands back and waits till the others are gone. And then he comes up to me and he attacks. Who told you all those things, boy? Where did you get all that stuff, boy? Nothing like that happened. Did your mom and daddy tell you all that stuff? They fill in your head with lies. And he gets louder and louder. And I stood there thinking, why is this happening? Why is this man so angry at me? And he's yelling and screaming. Finally, my teacher comes over and bumps into the guy and says, what are you doing? And he spins around and takes off. That was the beginning of my quest. I became obsessed with trying to get to the bottom of why is this the way that things are.
He's a right on time.
In 1967, my dad was finishing his PhD and got a job at a research laboratory in the Mississippi Delta. So my parents, 2 older brothers, and I moved from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to Leland. I was 3 years old. For me, that's when this story began.
We chose to live in Leland. We liked that our children would be able to do things on their own, that they could ride their bicycles around town. We liked the idea of a small town.
Leland was a busy, growing community in the 1960s. The farm economy was strong, particularly for the people who owned large amounts of land. Almost everyone made their living one way or another off the vast cotton and soybean fields that surrounded us. People came from far and wide at Christmas every year to see the decorations on the wide creek flowing through the center of town. Every fall, there was football and homecoming parades that wound through town and ended up on the field. Everyone seemed to agree that Leland was a special place, a little wealthier than most, better educated, more tolerant than other places nearby, and it did have a certain unique spirit.
At that time, Leland had an unusually good school system. It was the pride of the community.
I grew up going to the Leland schools. We rode school bus number 13, high school. It was a really good time. There were 35 people, I think, in my graduating class in 1960.
Fourth down coming up.
Football was the big sport. Everybody from town was at the game on Friday nights. Everybody rooted for the Cubs. It was a community supported, there again, in these terms of modern days, it was a white community supported school. There was a team on the other side of town. Gosh, I hate saying it this way, but that's the way it was. I mean, that's the way we grew up.
Breese High School was the high school for black people and black athletes in Leland, Mississippi. They did a good job. They competed. They played for titles.
We had one of the best basketball teams in the state. Basketball, football, track. We didn't have a gym. We played on the bare ground outside. We had a football field. It wasn't, with the bleachers and all, but you had a football field.
Oh, we had some great ball players. Had some great ball players. They would have a crowd, a cheering crowd, a supportive crowd.
Loved the mascot. We were the Braves, the Breese High Braves.
You take Breese High and go back and check the history. They could compete with any team in the state of Mississippi.